Hello, welcome to episode 66 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk, and today is the 18th of April. I'm recording much earlier than usual today because we're actually leaving to go to London to go to the airport this afternoon, so I've got to get this done quickly. So today I've got quite a quick podcast for you with a bit of knitting, quite a bit of sewing, and a little bit of confession. Oh, I haven't even got on holiday yet, oh dear. And then I've got an Ask Me Anything question at the end. And then that's it. So it's hopefully going to be quite a short one so it doesn't take me too long to edit it today. So you can find me on Instagram, Ravelry and Facebook as Craft House Magic, and you can find my website crafthousemagik.co.uk, where I will put the show notes for all these podcasts, and also I sell hand-dyed yarn, bags, accessories for knitting, etc. So just to remind you, if you order anything from my shop between now and the 10th of May, they won't be dispatched until the 10th of May. So just to give you the heads up, I have put a little sign at the top of my website as well. So don't forget, if you're in Florida and you're near the Knitting Patch, the yarn shop called the Knitting Patch, on the 2nd of May, I'm having a little meet-up there if you'd like to join us. So it's the 2nd of May at 11 o'clock at the Knitting Patch, and I shall leave the full address of the Knitting Patch knitting shop in Florida on the show notes page, as well as the Ravelry group that I've got set up. So if you are going to come, do pop over to the Ravelry group and let me know that you're coming. It'd be lovely to sort of say hi before I get to see you there. The other thing that we've got going on at the moment is the shawl along that me and Caroline from the Love to Sew podcast are doing. So I'm knitting my Kyla shawl, which I'll show you in a little while, and we're doing the discussion thread on my group on Ravelry, the Craft House Magic group, and the finished objects thread will be in Caroline's group. So I shall leave a link to Caroline Love to Sew, her Instagram and her Ravelry groups if you want to find her there. Right, so let's get into the good stuff. We've got my knitting. I've only been working on one project monogamously. I can't speak today. So I've been working on my Kyla shawl, and I've got quite a way. It's a bit wiggly because I've had it shoved in my bag, but I've done quite a bit since I last podcast. I think I might have been down near that progress keeper last time I podcast, but I can't quite remember. But it is getting quite large already, and I'm about halfway, I reckon, maybe a bit under, something like that. Well, I'm a bit under halfway, but I'm getting there, and it's absolutely massive so far. But I am loving this textured lace pattern here. If I put my t-shirt underneath, you can see those eyelets there. Really lovely. So the pattern I'm using is the Kyla shawl by Isabel Kramer, and the lovely yarn I'm using is Garthenor in the Rona space, and that's 100% non-superwash wool, and it's Shetland, I think, and it's a fingering 4-ply, and they come in 50-gram balls, and I got 5 of these balls in the kit that I got at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, so I'm getting on quite well with that. I'm literally going to take this project and a sock design project on holiday so that I'll actually sort of finish stuff instead of taking too many projects like I always do. So that'll be a nice knit for on the plane, and then hopefully my sock project I can be knitting on by the pool if it's not too hot. Right, so we've got, my next section is sewing. So Barbara is going to be the star of the show today. Barbara, would you like to come over and show me your outfit? Oh, Barbara, you do look nice. So Barbara's wearing my new Zadie dress. So the Zadie pattern is by Tilly and the Buttons, and I've made one of these before, but a long sleeve version or a 3/4 length sleeve version in a thicker fabric, and this I wanted to make out of a t-shirt fabric so that I could wear it in warmer weather. The fabric I'm using is a nice cotton jersey that I picked up from Watson and Thornton, at least this black is, and then I had this stripy fabric in my stash from ages ago. Goodness knows where I got it from. But I'm afraid this is coming out really weird on the camera. Well, it is on my little view screen here, so hopefully that doesn't make you go too cross-eyed or anything. It looks a bit crazy. So what I did is I shamelessly copied Nikki from the Stitch Sisters, because I'll see if I can find the picture I got off Instagram. So she'd posted this picture of her wearing the Zadie dress, but with a very short sleeve version with a panel of striped at the front. So I thought I'd basically copy her. Sorry, Nikki. So I'd already got this in my stash and I'd already got the black, so I thought I'd put those two together. I think I just used 2 meters of this black fabric, and then I just had scraps left over of this from another project. And I did do the back panel is the stripy as well, just to sort of tie it in. The Zadie dress has got these gorgeous massive pockets, which I absolutely love. This is why I needed to make another one of these. I pretty much stuck to the pattern. I did make some adjustments the first time I made it to make the bust area a little bit larger, and because it's got sort of princess seams, it was easy to adjust there. But the thing I did is I actually used the longer sleeve and cut it down to a little short sleeve rather than having a very short sleeve like the short sleeve version of the pattern was, if that makes sense, because I like a tiny bit more sleeve just over my arm because it's a little bit more flattering. But I'm really pleased with how it came out. I love the neckline on the Zadie, it comes out really nicely, and these little pleats here, I really love that as well. I've kept it to the length that the Zadie was in the pattern, but I remember thinking that actually when I've worn the thicker one I should have perhaps shortened it by a couple of inches, but I was in a bit of a rush this weekend and I've just hemmed it to the length that's 1.5 centimetres shorter than the length that I've cut it, obviously. And if I decide later I can shorten it and have it a shorter length. But there we go, there's my Zadie. So shall we have a costume change, Barbara? Thank you, Barbara. So this one, it looks a bit boring, it's grey, but it is a very comfortable top with sort of long bits on the edges. The pattern is the New Look 6453 pattern, and I did view A here with the long sides. I have made this before and I found that it's a really nice baggy t-shirt, so if it's hot weather that's ideal. And I've made it in a sort of viscose jersey that I had in my stash that I bought it from Abercarn in Shrewsbury when I visited there last, and I think I bought this actually with the idea of making some leggings with it, but because I've got 1.5 meters and I thought that'll do nicely for this top, I decided to cut this one out. I think actually on the back of the pattern it said that I needed more fabric than I actually used, way more. I think it says for the size that I cut out you need 2.25 yards, but I used 1.5 meters. So 1.5 meters is about 1.6 yards, so I used absolutely way less than the pattern says. I don't really get why they done that at all, and I actually used a very similar layout to the pattern cutting instructions that they said in the pattern, so that's a bit weird. But anyway, I got it out of 1.5 meters. I should make a note of it really, so that I know for next time that I can get away with 1.5 meters. I should write it on the back of the pattern. So this is just a nice plain round necked top with short sleeves, and then the back goes to a point at either side of the hips, and then there's also a point in the centre back as well, which you can't see very well here, but there we go. I did find that when I'm turning the hem up to do the point, obviously it got a bit bulky in the corner, so I ended up cutting a bit of fabric from that corner before I top stitched it down, and I used my cover stitch machine with a 3 needle stitch to finish that off, but I think that looks nice in the end. It's a nice plain usable top that I can wear with loads of things. I could probably get away with wearing leggings with this because it covers enough of my upper thigh for me to get away with it. But there we go. I will try and take some a bit of short video footage of Barbara close up so you can see her a little bit better, because you can't really see the whole of this top from this angle really. But there we are. So Barbara's changed into make number 3, and this is a Frankie t-shirt by Tilly and the Buttons. But if you've been watching previous episodes, I've actually made this Frankie t-shirt before, but I changed the neckline to the same neckline as the Agnes pattern. So those patterns are both Tilly and the Buttons. I'm a Tilly and the Buttons advert today, I think. So this is a really nice, fine cotton jersey that's nice and thin if it's a hot weather, that'd be ideal. And I just used some grey cotton jersey to contrast that, just to give it a little bit more it was a bit too pretty, this fabric, so it needed something to sort of balance it out, I felt. So that went quite nicely. I used the same cover stitch. I'm absolutely loving my cover stitch at the moment. I've really got to grips with it. It's took me absolutely ages, because you basically, when you're stitching on the cover stitch, if you don't press the foot down, or you've got the wrong tension, or something else is not threaded properly or something, it chews up the fabric like no one's business. So you've got to make sure that you've done all the steps correctly. But now I'm really starting to get to grips with it, so I might actually do a little mini tutorial on how I use my cover stitch machine. I've got a Bernina B42 Funlock, which is very good, and the rest of it I constructed using my overlocker. So I've definitely made use of all the machines that I've bought. It's dreadful, isn't it? I'm so naughty. So the Frankie t-shirt is just a standard t-shirt with a back that goes down at the back to cover your bum a little bit, and then it's sort of a bit higher at the front, which is quite a nice design. This is quite a nice loose top, so I quite like this pattern. It's a bit different from the Agnes because that's a little bit more fitted. So I also, when I was sewing this, I like to sometimes do 2 at a time. So I've used the same fabric to make another Frankie, and I'll show you that now. So there we go. Lastly, I've made another Frankie t-shirt in the same grey fabric as I made for the sleeves in the last one I showed you. And it's exactly the same, more or less. But if I've got the overlocker threaded with grey thread, I might as well do 2 at a time, because it just feels like I'm saving time. But this is the same as the other Frankie t-shirt I showed you, but just grey all over. And I thought that it's nice to have some plain t-shirts so that I can pair them up with sort of patterned trousers or patterned skirts. But there we go. Thank you very much, Barbara. So I forgot to say that the grey fabric I picked up from Abercarn out of one of those bins. They have absolutely tons of pieces of fabric, and the shop that I picked it up was from Shrewsbury, but I think they've got another store in Chester and perhaps a few other places sort of in the Midlands area, I think. So that's all my dressmaking for this week. I'd got a bit mad because I felt like there was a few items that I needed for my wardrobe for my holiday. So I decided to sew up some of the fabrics that I'd actually bought for that purpose. And I'd actually bought more fabric for t-shirts that I never got round to making, but I don't need to take too much anyway. I always take too much on holiday. So now we're on to my confession section. So naughty. I'd seen that Cheryl from Chapel View Crafts had been making some other lovely little mini cakes that she makes. They're like sort of doll's house size, and she puts them in frames as well, but I tend to use Progress Keepers more, so I asked her to make a special order for me. I had to pick up some of her standard sort of sets as well. So I'll show you the standard sets first. So I'd got a set of crumpets, and I had these in the Progress Keeper clasp rather than the stitch markers, so you can order stitch markers if you want to, but they're gorgeous, aren't they? Look at those crumpets, makes me want to eat a crumpet now. And then I picked up a set of a shortbread and a little mug. I'm trying to get them so that they're all facing the same way. Isn't that sweet? So a little mug and some shortbread. So I shall show you the details as well while I'm at it. So that's Cheryl from Chapelview Crafts. And then she's on her own website as well. So you can find her on that web address there. And it's just chapelviewcrafts.co.uk. So it doesn't end there. So she normally does, these aren't on a card, so I'm going to have to hold them up. So I bought 2 little hot crust buns. I'll show you, this all came in a set, you see, but it comes as little hot crust bun, look. I've got 2 of those with a little mug. Isn't that sweet? With a little tea in it. And then I picked up the little vanilla slice. Look at the detail on that, absolutely gorgeous. So that you can put in your basket from her website when it's on its own. But then I decided I wanted some other cakes that she'd been making in miniature size but in Progress Keeper form. So I asked her to make me a chocolate eclair because I love chocolate eclairs. Isn't that sweet? And then if you have a chocolate eclair, you've got to have some profiteroles. I love profiteroles as well. Lovely, with a bit of cream on, I think. Oh dear. And then I'd seen that she'd done jam on toast, and I wanted this as a Progress Keeper as well. So she did this for me specially. Absolutely gorgeous. She did it a little bit thicker so that it's a bit more sturdy than having a very thin piece of toast. But isn't that lovely? Oh, I'm not actually a mega fan of jam on toast, but it looks so cute. I had to have it. And then she's been starting to do these jars with some gorgeous little biscuits on the top. I'm covering my face so it focuses in a little bit better. And on the inside it's magnetic, so I've just stuck a bulb pin on the inside to show you that it's magnetic. But I've been actually keeping these Progress Keepers in this little jar, and I think that's quite sweet. I'll pop them in so you can see. But it's nice to be able to sort of see them through the side of the jar as well. So there we go. Thank you, Cheryl. So I've now probably got enough Progress Keepers to last me my entire life, and probably about 10 more. So that's my last of my confessions. I've not been too bad. I'm probably going to have quite a few confessions from when I come back from holiday, because you have to have a souvenir from the yarn shop on holiday, don't you? And also I'll probably have some fabric as well. So the last section is Ask Me Anything. So I've had the same question from a couple of people, so I thought I'd talk briefly about it, and when I actually finish this project I'll talk about it in further detail. So last week I showed you that I've been knitting a whole massive tube that then I'm going to cut up into separate socks. So I've marked 4 equal pieces of this sock that I've just knitted, well, a tube I've knitted, so that I've got at least an equal amount of the plain stockinette stitch, and on this one I've counted the ribbon as a sort of separate piece, because I'll knit the ribbon a plain colour to go with this one, if that makes sense. And they were asking me how long do I need to make it so that you can get a sock out of it. So my calculations are, my foot is 9 inches long, and I take 3 inches away to do the toes and the heel bits. So I need to have 6 inches of the tube to do the length of your foot, and then whatever else I have left goes up my leg. And I quite like relatively short socks, so it doesn't really matter to me if it's a little bit shorter. I shall get the measuring tape out and measure how long these actually are. So the sock is 12.5 inches long, this panel that I've got, but it's just literally because I've used the rest of the ball up. I'll need 6 inches for the foot, and then there'll be 6.5 inches left for the leg. So my sock will be 6.5 inches plus whatever I knit for the cuff. But the Afterthought Everything sock pattern will explain what they do for if you're knitting a tube and then making one pair of socks out of it, but I'll just go through in a bit more detail when I actually go through the process of cutting these up, if that makes sense. Hopefully that answers your question. Like I say, when I actually do finish that sock, I'll explain a little bit more completely of how I do it. So that's all for today, I think. It's a little bit of a shorter one just because I've got to get everything uploaded before I leave for the train this afternoon. So hopefully you enjoyed a shorter episode. My shop is going to be sort of left open, but things won't be dispatched until after I get back from holiday. But I did leave a note at the top of the website so that you can see, and any orders I get I'll send an email out just to confirm that things won't be dispatched until about the 10th of May. But I hope that's okay. But sometimes I think it's easier to leave the shop open so that if you do see something and you want to just order it then and there, it's a bit easier for you. But I think that's it. So I shall see you after I get back from holiday. I'm going to attempt to record some footage while I'm there so that you can have a little summary of where I've been. But it's very exciting because I only go on holiday about every 2 years, so I'm very, very excited. So I'll see you in a few weeks' time. I hope you have a lovely crafty couple of weeks. Until then, bye!